2. First, throw out smooth spending projections. Your plan needs to account for volatility, big ups and downs, not steady declines. Build buffers for unexpected costs. Keep 2 to 3 years of cash, so you're not forced to sell investments during market drops. Second, plan for the spending spike. Budget 25 to 30% more for the first 5 to 7 years of retirement. If you think you'll spend $60,000 annually, plan for $75,000 initially. The data shows this isn't optional, it's reality. Third, segment your spending. Separate essentials like housing and food from discretionary expenses like travel. When markets drop, cut back on discretionary spending first. Retirees who do this weather downturns far better than those who make across-the-board cuts. Finally, stay flexible. Rigid withdrawal rules fail. Instead of taking 4% every year, adjust based on market conditions. Take less in bad years. Why retirement feels more expensive than retirees who adapted survived. Here's why retirement those who didn't ran out of more expensive than your working years, even when you're spending less. When you were working, a steady paycheck created the illusion of stability. In retirement, every dollar spent feels like it's coming directly from your life savings, and that changes everything. The unpredictability of expenses in retirement creates constant low-level stress, even for those with adequate savings. 1 month you're fine. The next you're writing a $15,000 check for a new roof. This uncertainty weighs heavily, making even a healthy portfolio feel fragile. Spending in retirement isn't just about managing money. It's about managing the emotional toll of unpredictability. Here's what's really happening. During your career, fixed costs like commuting, work clothes, and lunches out quietly drained your paycheck. In retirement, those costs disappear, but they're replaced by discretionary spending that feels more voluntary, and therefore more guilt-inducing. That $8,000 cruise seems extravagant when it's coming from savings rather than a paycheck you'll get again next month. The psychology of withdrawal is different too. Spending in retirement feels like burning precious fuel. One retiree described it this way. At work, I'd spend $100 without thinking. Now I debate every $20 purchase because it's my money leaving forever. This shift makes every expense feel weightier, even when it's planned. Spending volatility amplifies this emotional strain. Retirees describe whiplash from alternating between, I'm spending too much, and I can't afford this. 1 year you're on a European tour, the next you're postponing dental work after a market drop. This roller coaster is exhausting, even if your long-term finances are sound. Fixed costs, like housing and insurance, also feel heavier in retirement. One retiree shared, seeing $3,000 leave my account each month for basics makes me feel poor, even though I spent more unconsciously when working. The visibility of these expenses adds to the mental burden. Healthcare costs hit differently too. At work, employer plans buffered the sticker shock. Now you see every premium, copay, and denied claim. A retiree shared, I nearly cried when Medicare rejected my $4,000 physical therapy bill. That never happened with my corporate insurance. The transition from accumulation to decumulation messes with your head. For decades, watching your savings grow felt rewarding. Now, watching the balance shrink triggers loss aversion. Psychologically, losing $10,000 hurts more than gaining $10,000 pleases. The loss of future earning potential changes everything. At 50, a big expense meant working longer or harder. At 70, that option fades, making every dollar feel more precious. As one retiree put it, I used to think I'll earn more. Now I know this is all I've got. Here's how to fix the mindset. First, reframe withdrawals as paychecks. Set up automatic monthly transfers equal to your old take-home pay. One retiree said this simple trick cut her money anxiety in half. Second, bucket your spending. Keep essentials in safe investments, discretionary money in growth assets. Knowing your basics are covered reduces stress about market swings. Third, normalize volatility. Track your spending in 3-year averages, not month to month. This smooths out the mental impact of big-ticket years. Fourth, create spending guardrails. Set clear limits for good and bad years. For example, in up markets, I'll spend up to $70,000. In downturns, I'll cut to $50,000. Having rules reduces decision fatigue. Fifth, separate one-time hits from ongoing costs. That $15,000 roof isn't spending, it's capital maintenance. Fund these separately, so they don't distort your perception of daily expenses. The 3 retirement spending phases and how to survive them. Retirement spending isn't one long gradual decline. It's 3 distinct phases, each requiring its own strategy. Let's break them down and explore how to plan for each. Phase 1. The spending surge, ages 60 to 70. This phase begins right after retirement, when spending typically spikes by 20 to 30% compared to your working years. Travel, hobbies, and home projects often drive these costs. For example, one couple spent $20,000 annually on travel during their first 5 years of retirement, compared to $5,000 before retiring. To prepare, set aside extra cash specifically for this phase. Consider part-time work to fund discretionary expenses without tapping into investments. Most importantly, don't panic if you overspend early on. It's normal, but you need to plan for it. Sequence risk is a major concern here. Poor market returns combined with high withdrawals can permanently damage your portfolio. Protect yourself by maintaining cash reserves and cutting back on non-essential spending during downturns. For instance, a couple who reduced their travel budget from $15,000 to $5,000 during the 2008 crash preserved their portfolio while others struggled later. Phase 2, the roller coaster years, ages 70 to 80. Spending during this phase becomes unpredictable, with large, irregular expenses like a $15,000 car purchase one year and a $25,000 kitchen remodel the next. Traditional fixed budgets often fail here. Instead, build flexibility into your plan. Keep 2 to 3 years of expenses in cash to avoid selling investments during market downturns. Segment your portfolio to ensure you're not forced to sell stocks at a loss. For example, one retiree avoided financial strain by using a bucket strategy, keeping cash for short-term needs and stocks for long-term growth. Accept that volatility is normal. Don't make drastic cuts after one expensive year. Flexibility is key to navigating this phase without derailing your overall plan. Phase 3. The late-stage decline, ages 80 plus. Spending typically drops by 25 to 30% in this phase, but this reduction often comes too late to offset earlier overspending. To avoid running out of money, control withdrawals in phases 1 and 2 so you enter this stage with sufficient resources. One effective approach is front-loading, where you plan specific spending reductions at certain ages rather than waiting for natural cutbacks. For example, a retiree who reduced discretionary spending by 10% at age 75 preserved enough funds to cover rising healthcare costs later. Speaking of healthcare, these expenses don't follow the same patterns as other costs. Budget separately for medical needs, and consider long-term care insurance early to avoid skyrocketing premiums. Key takeaway: flexible planning is essential. The biggest mistake is treating all retirement years the same. A better approach divides your plan into 3 buckets. One for the first 10 years with cash and safe investments, one for growth investments for years 10 to 20, and one for long-term assets like annuities for late retirement. Social Security timing and tax strategies also shift across these phases, so adapt accordingly. The happiest retirees balance spending across all 3 phases, splurging early while safeguarding resources for later. Flexibility is the foundation of a successful retirement plan. The flexible spending solution. Here's the one strategy that solves most retirement spending problems: flexible withdrawals. Rigid budgets fail because real retirement spending isn't predictable. The 4% rule and other fixed approaches crumble when faced with actual retiree behavior: spending spikes, healthcare surprises, and market volatility. Flexible spending adapts to reality rather than forcing reality into a spreadsheet. Here's how to make it work, step by step. 1. Set a baseline withdrawal rate. Start with a 4% initial withdrawal rate from your portfolio. This serves as your foundation for annual spending. 2. Establish guardrails. Define upper and lower limits for your withdrawals, such as 3.5% to 5.5%. These guardrails allow you to adjust spending based on market performance. For example, if your investments gain more than 5% in a year, you might increase withdrawals to 4.5 to 5%. If losses exceed 10%, reduce withdrawals to 3 to 3.5%. This protects your portfolio during downturns while letting you enjoy more in good years. 3. Segment spending. Divide your expenses into essentials, housing, food, and discretionary items, travel, hobbies. In tough years, cut discretionary spending first. This ensures your basic needs are always covered while giving you flexibility to adjust. 4. Maintain cash reserves. Keep 2 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or cash equivalents. This prevents you from having to sell investments during market downturns, giving your portfolio time to recover. 5. Incorporate tax planning. Use market conditions to your advantage. In strong years, consider Roth conversions to reduce future taxes. In weaker years, harvest capital losses or make charitable contributions from appreciated assets. Coordinating taxes with withdrawals maximizes your financial efficiency. 6. Monitor and adjust. Use tools like New Retirement or Empower to track your withdrawal rate and portfolio value. These apps can alert you when you approach your guardrails, helping you make informed adjustments without constant stress. This approach isn't just about numbers. It's about weathering market storms with confidence. One retiree described it as having a system that keeps you calm, no matter what the market does. Instead of agonizing over every market swing, you follow clear rules. Spend a little more when your portfolio grows,